What job do you have that people might not even know exists? I used to make fake children's art for a TV show set in a kindergarten classroom. Every episode had new, themed art. Real kids and good enough artists. Sorry kids. As a teenager, I used to clean tombs, and it wasn't too creepy as I used to imagine. You know those fire evacuation maps that are entirely useless because no one's gonna stop and look at a map on their way out of a burning building? Yeah, I designed those. I read those, although you should put one opposite the toilet, then everyone would have them memorized. I used to have a job that I got paid $10 HR to watch college football and basketball games and use software to tag every play and put comments on what happened. I even got to rate the plays based on 1-4 on how cool it was. Pretty sure it was for some company that made highlight reels or something. I don't know. Crap was crazy. Still can't believe that was a real job. I did this too, but for golf tournaments. The official title is media logger. I spent thousands of hours logging tournament footage and transcribing player interviews, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had, and I don't even like golf. I have been writing fortune cookies for over a year. People usually don't believe me when I tell them this. I am a standardized patient. I get to act as a patient in various scenarios for nursing students as part of their exams. I had a job where I fed folded up and wrinkled dollar bills into test machines. I was surrounded by thousands of dollar bills and was constantly watched by a guard in a locked room. It was boring and weird. The guard didn't ever talk to me except when it was time to leave the vault for break or lunch. I mean, your job was definitely weird, but another guy was getting paid just to watch you do said job. I attempt to read addresses on mail that machines can't. I'm a sound effects librarian for films, TV, commercials, and games. Basically, I maintain a high quality searchable database of every sound you could possibly imagine so that they can be used in whatever entertainment medium we're working on. We've got everything from military aircraft to superhero fight sounds. Footsteps on almost any surface and almost any type of shoe. Nearly every type of gun out there. Whatever is needed for the work we do. The fun part is that I get to run around recording custom stuff for many of the shows. Most recently were some really high-end cars and a few surround sound ambiances from various places around the state that I live in. It's almost like taking a vacation for work every few weeks. I used to conduct high-fidelity simulation studies in a hospital environment, meaning we'd set up a lab to look and feel like a real IQ and bring in medical staff to run through scenarios as if it was the real thing. We'd watch and record usability issues with devices used, and write reports to submit to medical authorities. It was a really cool job but was difficult to explain. My job title is a tissue recovery specialist. I cut bones, tendons, organs, and brains out of dead bodies on a daily basis. I breed button mushrooms in an abandoned mine in Western PA. I get paid to be a living mannequin. No, not a model that poses in pictures, gets her makeup done, and gets put in magazines. I'm a completely different type of model. I work behind the scenes. In the warehouse, designers for huge chain stores will use my frame to show their looks to the CEO of the company who approves or rejects the looks. Clothing on a mannequin looks totally different on a real person. I program simple video games for monkeys, complete with a joystick and pallet dispenser. You know those big companies with millions of fans on Facebook and Twitter and such. You know when they make a new post and it gets like 2k plus comments in 30 minutes which have tons of spam and swear words and inappropriate content. I had a job where I would read over all of the comments and clear them according to guidelines set by the client. Official job name, online moderator. Fancy job name, social media specialist. Oh man, I used to be a social media manager for my university. The job was so boring, but it paid pretty well. The only real highlight was the legitimately funny comments and trying to get rid of persistent bots or auto-follower programs. Then some guy at the information sciences school wrote a script that did about 90% of my job to only a slightly lower quality level. I am an IT guy at a Buddhist retreat center. People tend to forget that pretty much everyone needs an IT guy. I'm an underwater husbandrist. I don scuba gear come rain or shine to clean crap off the bottom of people's luxury yachts and maintain and replace the zinc anodes that people put in strategic areas on the hull to prevent electrolysis. Zinc anodes actually prevent something called galvanic corrosion. Electrolysis is a completely different and intentional process. The two terms are not interchangeable. Not trying to come off as a jerk, just trying to inform. In college, I used to transport racing horse semen from one breeder to another as a courier sorter. One batch of horse jizz could cost upwards to a 100k depending on a breed of the horse and its race winning history. I paint gym floors. I work in genealogical research. When someone dies without a will, I trace the family tree back, often to late 1800s, early 1900s. Then trace it back to the present until I find all the living relatives. Or if someone is named in a will and no one knows where they are, I try to track them down so they can get their money. I have been told, often, that someone didn't even know people repaired vacuums. I love you. You changed my life, vacuum repair AMA guy. Not anymore, but when I was a kid, I had a job where I'd wander around llama pastures and scatter their crap out. They have a habit of pooping in communal piles, which, if you don't scatter them, get quite large and end up nitrogen burning the grass. Then the grass around them grows really well, but they won't eat it, because it smells strongly of their poop. So, instead, you go out with a snow shovel and scatter the poop and all the grass in the pasture grows really well and none of it smells too much like poop for the llamas to eat it. Those llamas must have freaking hated you. Imagine if someone came into your house and started yanking crap out of the toilet and throwing it everywhere. I've been doing closed captioning for over a decade. Most people think voice recognition software does it, not humans. I did closed captioning and eventually proofing of captions for many years. Best typo I ever caught was CM paste in a baking show. Should have been gum paste. Listening to the ocean aboard a submarine. I do your job in my sleep. I operate a guillotine. Not for executions, though. I paddle testicles of transgenic goats. The slight bruising cause an increase in blood flow that increases fertility. The goats are bred for their powdered hair. It is an aphrodisiac for panda breeders. I configure smart device cameras that count you in retail environments. I sub for musicians on Broadway shows in Nick, meaning, when the musician whose job it is to play the show night after night takes a day off, I come in and cover for him or her. I've done it on guitar, ukulele, mandolin, tres, keyboards, banjo and a few other things. I program the moving vibrating seats in 4D movie theaters. My official job title is motion designer. I scatter rose petals in 5-star hotels in the Sydney CBD for honeymooners and wedding nights. I'm a train traffic operator, not the engine driver. I'm not even on a train. Seldom people know what I do. They can guess what I do from the title of the profession. But even here in Switzerland, the world's leading country in terms of train usage, no one really knows of my job. You get into a train, the engineer takes you from A, B, and that's all people see. But there are also guys just like in aviation, air traffic operators, dispatching, overlooking, steering the trains. For example, around delayed trains, around building sites, interruptions. I shoot birds at the airport. Professional cheese roller. I work in a call center in America. If you get trapped in an elevator in the US or Canada and you press the emergency button, you'll speak to me. I'll locate you, call the building you're in, call your boss or your family, and send an elevator technician to come release you. Court captioner here. I provide live captioning using the same skills and technology as a stenographic court reporter. This is also how live television gets subtitled captioned, as mentioned earlier in this thread, but I don't do television. Most of my week is spent in the classroom, captioning college classes on site for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. But I also do live, open captioning of convention speakers or other special events. CAT stands for Communication Access Real-Time Translation. A turkey tickler. Learned about it in a genetics class. being that some turkeys have breasts that are simply too large to allow a male to mount a female. Someone has the job to jerk off the turkeys and artificially inseminate the females. I noticed they have a guy that pulls out a hanky out of his suit jacket to wipe down the pole at the strip club. I wondered to myself, what did he have to do to get that job? I knew a guy a few years back that actually did this. You have got to really need the money apparently. He hated his job so much. It was general cleanup after each stripper. I drive trains. You'd be surprised how many people don't think trains even exist anymore or think it's a dying industry. We're moving more freight than ever. Composer, but not of film or video games. Well, not primarily. Anyway, I write music for all sorts of settings, including marching band, live theater, and of course, the concert hall, orchestras, bands, chamber music. It's hard for me to gauge, but it seems a lot of the population view composers as mythical figures, with only 3 or 4 per generation, but in reality there are dozens of us. Dozens. Probably hundreds. I dabble with indie game development and the amount of aspiring composers I've met is staggering. I never even thought of it as a profession until I started making games. Now it seems like I can't swing a dead cat without hitting one. Keep it up. Morten Lauridsen said it took him until his was 50 to make it and become a big name. I'm a professional lavatory specialist. I give people permission to go to the bathroom. First I have to gauge the need and compare it to the event that is occurring at the same time to assess whether the bathroom request is allowed, or should it be delayed for greater use of time. When I'm not doing that, I try to teach some 9th grade English. I install fire hydrants, put in plugs, valves, etc. Nope, no hydrant seeds that magically pop up on your neighborhood corner. I install them. I inspect factories to ensure that they are kosher compliant. I work in a small college running the remotely broadcasted classes. All I have to do is turn on the camera that points at the students in the projectors they watch the professors on. I also have to mail students' papers to the professors. The most difficult thing I do is calling the main campus to figure out why something isn't working properly. I get paid to half listen to classes, do homework for the classes I'm taking and browse Reddit, play browser games. My job is to discover new fashion brands for the masses. Basically, I travel to shop for a living. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.